Hey everybody, welcome to Gaming Nonsense, a new podcast about video game news, video game culture, and anything else gaming related. I am Ted Ralph Cossack. With me, I have my co-host, Mr. Avery Fair.
I'm Avery Fair, otherwise known as Coffee Black. Nice to be here.
So we set this thing up really in an effort to just talk about games more often. You play them a lot, you read all the articles. We have some of our favorite other podcasts out there. And really, we're setting this up more so for ourselves, but hope you come along with us and kind of join the conversation, listen to what we have to say, and tell us your opinions. That'd be pretty awesome. So maybe what we can do to start off, this being the first episode and all, I kind of covered what we want to do in this show, but maybe what we should do is actually really introduce ourselves and how we got into gaming, why we even want to do this in the first place, how we know each other, not just two random guys out here on the internet trying to do something. So maybe we can go ahead and start with you. Go ahead, Coffee.
Well, I've been playing games probably, since I was, 6 or 7, with the Super Nintendo and Mario 3 and all of that. But I think it really started around when I was 10. I got, PlayStation 1, and the big game that kind of took hold of me was Final Fantasy 7. And that was kind of the stranglehold that kind of pushed me into that direction of especially RPG, role-playing games, and things like that. The sad part of that is I got to the final boss in that game, but my older brother deleted my save. So I never truly beat that game until I was in my early 20s, so a few years ago. And so it took me that long to finally beat it. But it was worth it.
Conquered that thing you never overcame. I'm proud of you.
Exactly. Other than that, though, games have been part of my life. I went to school for journalism. I would like to try and get into that type of field. But, at the end of the day, I just want to sit back and just have some fun.
Very good. Fair enough. I guess to talk about myself a little bit, I'd see. You probably started gaming earlier than I did. You were talking SNES there. I want to say the first games I played really were on PC when I was really little, but the first console or anything significant I had, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I don't know what year. Christmas Day, though, with my brother, parents got us an N64, which was the first real console I had. Remember opening that bad boy up with that Star Wars pod racing game, and we just sat there for hours and hours. That was the first real experience that kind of drew me in, and I guess from there, it was N64 for a while. Games like, playing Mario, back then it was pretty little. So Mario Party, kind of those party games. Mario Kart, which still holds up today as one of the best games of all time.
I still have Mario Kart.
Yeah, exactly. And then just kind of evolved from there. I don't want to say it spun out of control. Got back and, kind of continued playing PC games for a while. After the N64, I went to GameCube and then off into the Xbox world. And then ended up where I am today, obviously, with my PC, Xbox One S, I should say, and then the PS4. So yeah, pretty good journey so far. Just trying to hang on. Really, there's just so much going on. It's a great time to be a video game player.
Yeah, it sounds like you were able to hit a lot of those different branches of that, gaming tree. Really, kind of hit everything.
I'm a confused person. That's the only thing. So I guess before we even jump into it, how do we know each other? That's a pretty important thing to this show here. I'm trying to recall right now because we didn't really plan this out super fantastically well. But what was it? Middle school? Must have been middle school.
Well,
high school.
We first started really hanging out is senior year with Assassins, the game at school where you'd pair up and you try to eliminate enemy teams with I think it was water balloons or water guns off campus, and so you'd always come pick me up from my house every day for school.
I remember that.
And we would listen to Milan every day.
Getting down to business.
That's how we really start off the day, and so from there on, it kind of just worked itself through. I mean, we both went to ASU.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there was a time where you were gone for that summer, and I stayed at your house.
That's right. You took over my room for that summer. Yeah.
Yep. So it's been a long journey, and it's kind of cultivated over to this.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's definitely been a long journey. The only other point to know, wish we were in person for this, but you're living off in Scottsdale now, back in Arizona still, where we grew up together, and I am off in San Francisco doing big boy things, I guess, as people say. But I don't know. We'll see about that. So I think we should probably jump into it. We're gonna have just a layout of the show today. Feel free to jump in. We're gonna just talk about some of maybe our favorite games of all time as the first thing, so you get to know us even just a little bit better. And then really a little bit late to the party, but most recent gaming news obviously coming out of E3. What was that, a week or two ago at this point? If you
Yeah.
haven't been drowned out by all the IGN and Polygon and whatever other sites you go to coverage, you'll get some of the same stuff here. And then we're going to hit on a recent announcement at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. So let's start it off. The big question, the big get to know you. Favorite game of all time, top 3 games of all time. Give me something that really defines you as a person.
I mean, just hearing that question, it kind of just weighs on you because there are just so many different choices out there and so many games that have, not only you spend a great time playing with, but really, impacts your life. And so, again, I'll go back to Final Fantasy VII, where that was a game that kind of really opened my mind to a lot of different themes, a lot of different attitudes and perceptions that you have to, learn as you're growing up, especially when I started that when I was about 10. And so that was a game that really held true to me, especially so that I got a Final Fantasy VII tattoo done.
Yeah.
So obviously that's pretty high on my list. The other one I would say
before you go on, let me stop you. Not what about Final Fantasy, but what type of games have you played before then where it was something that was so different, I guess?
like different than Final Fantasy.
Yeah, was that your first kind of game in that genre, and before that on PlayStation or whatever else SNES, it had been other types of games, or is just?
I mean, probably as like a true RPG, I would think that Final Fantasy VII was the first. It was at least the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. Yeah. And obviously, there will be people out there that would say that Final Fantasy VII is, I don't know, overrated, or with people are in love with Final Fantasy 4 or 6, and those are some of the games that I would like to eventually maybe brush off the backlog. But yeah, that was the first one in that category. I mean, other games in that era. I mean, you mentioned Mario Kart and the N64, and I had that. GoldenEye was great, but I think Final Fantasy VII was that first genuine game that kind of stuck with me. And most recently, I've just finished Persona 5. That came out beginning of April, and that was again in that role playing genre. But unlike role playing games nowadays, where it's more open world, it's more live action and things like that, where it's no longer the turn based strategy type of battles. Persona 5 goes back to that. That series is built upon those turn-based. And I think those types of games are a lot more difficult because you have to think about each move. You have to think about what the enemy's going to do the next turn. And it's not just all about, smashing buttons and hack and slashing your way through. It's, calculating every single step that you have to take, 1 and 2 steps in advance. Yeah. And, that game was phenomenal.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That reminds me, thinking ahead in that kind of, turn-based, I don't want to call it, it could be RTS type of category. Just reminds me, because I grew up playing a lot of StarCraft, which I think you probably knew. Which kind of same situation, just kind of more so working the mind. Well, in StarCraft, the mechanical skills too, but more so working the mind is 2/3 of the game. Trying to think ahead and make sure you're not setting yourself up for failure down the road. It's half the battle there. I guess if I think about favorite game of all time, it's an impossible question. I mean, it honestly really is. I don't know how somebody could really answer that, but I tend to associate favorite games, I guess, more so with the memories that I have associated to them, as in playing with friends, not
Okay.
necessarily, like the best single player campaign game I've ever played. And
Right.
when I think about favorite games, I just immediately go back to sitting on our buddies, floors, system linking together old Xboxes playing Halo 1. The instant answer, just have to go to it. I can't even, just so many hours, so many, what, at that age we would have been middle school or high school. So
Yeah.
many sleepovers, so many whatever, linking up 4 Xboxes, sitting back to back at different TVs. Kind of miss that, to be honest, because we don't need it these days. But
Right.
just that kind of started really, the sense of wanting to be good at a game, being able to compete just with your friends, and that was before things like Xbox Live were even out there.
Yeah.
So that really just kind of pushed me into a lot of the games that I play now, I think, where I'm more drawn to these kind of, not necessarily always shooters, but kind of online multiplayer games. Not saying it's not some great single player games, and we just both finished and played Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a fantastic game. But yeah, that's my cop-out answer for the hardest question of all time.
I mean, picking Halo 1 as an answer is not, necessarily a cop-out. That's, a very, very, good game that opened the door for many other games to come through. But
yeah, it really is.
Yeah, well.
All right. Anyways, let's. I know you're going to lead us through some E3 situations here. Really just going to talk about some of the announcements, some of the news, some of the things to look forward to if you're a gamer. And you already did some reporting on this, so we'll definitely, you can see on the screen here your website. Everybody go check that out. There's more in-depth reviews. We're going to talk about some of it now. And I'll turn it over to you, buddy. Walk us on through it.
Right, so like Teddy was saying before E3 happened, a couple weeks ago, and it was a big conference for Microsoft, because they're coming off a year where they recently had one of their top exclusives, Scalebound, canceled. They've been just losing the battle with exclusives and to Sony, and also they had their new kind of quote unquote next gen console coming out, like Sony had the PlayStation 4 Pro last year. Yep. So, Microsoft started out, they announced their Xbox One X, codenamed Scorpio. It's going to be coming out November 7th, and it's going to be $499. Yeah. Now, looking at that price tag as compared to the other consoles out right now, you may
Makes me sweat.
Right, your wallet's going to be crying for help for this one. Microsoft has stated repeatedly that this is the most powerful console ever created, and yes, I'm not a data analysis, but these stats, 6 teraflops, 326 gigs of memory, HDR, it's gonna be 4K Blu-ray, it's gonna be the smallest console for Microsoft. Yeah. All of that is fine and dandy. What's gonna really get the gamers to buy this is, what type of exclusives is Microsoft gonna have? Because what's going to persuade me to go get a One X for, $500 when I can just get, a PS4 Pro for, 300 odd and play superior games on that, sure. unless you're a big, Halo guy, Gears of War guy, sure. Things like that.
The traditional Xbox kind of exclusives.
Exactly. And so that brings me to their game announcements. Now, they did a decent job of showcasing some of their exclusives. They finally had a release date for Crackdown 3. That's going to be coming out with the Xbox One X on the 7th of November.
That's right.
It's been 7 years since Crackdown 2 came out, so this was a game that's been in Microsoft's house for a pretty long time here, and it looks like it's finally going to see that light of day. I don't expect it to get delayed because it's coming out on that same day as the console. So that's kind of their other big head of the exclusive with Crackdown. Sure. They showcase their typical Forza 7. That's probably the perfect game to showcase a new console with, because it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yep. And that's a pretty standard thing, is showcasing the console to racing game. At
Right.
least it
So
feels like it as I watch these Microsoft conferences every year. So
right, and granted, I'm not a huge racing guy other than Mario Kart, but that's beside the point.
that counts.
uh, but Forza will be coming out October 3rd. So, and then also these games, I think the majority of them they will be getting a 4K patch if you get an Xbox One X. So,
Okay.
for example, with Forza, if you buy it on the 3rd of October, you play it on your Xbox One regular or whatever.
Yeah.
When you upgrade to that X, you will be able to get those upgraded graphics.
Okay.
Um, Moving on now, the big exclusive that Microsoft revealed is that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the
Yeah.
popular Steam game right now, will be coming over to console.
It's a big
Now,
deal.
that's pretty big right now. They have over 3 million players on Steam,
Yeah.
so that following hopefully will come over to Microsoft, especially with the duality with Windows and Microsoft being able to
Yeah.
play Xbox games on Windows. So if you already have a high rigged PC, having an Xbox One is a good complement to that.
Yeah, I
Now,
just wonder how many of these, people out there that already have, some gaming PC setup, or even not even necessarily a super intense gaming PC, just PC in general. How many people are going to be drawn to want to play that game on an Xbox with an unestablished player base versus continuing to play it on their PC, maybe where they're already playing it with all their friends. It turns into kind of that, we'll talk about it in a little bit, that Destiny conversation of what platform we're going to play this on.
right, and that's a good point. That also kind of, and I think that situation almost mirrors with Overwatch right now.
Yeah, that's very true.
Now, with Overwatch, though, they released on all platforms all at once, whereas Battlegrounds it was on PC to begin with, so it
Sure.
has already established that player base.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, who knows if players will make that adjustment because, I mean, with Overwatch, I hear people say that playing on PC is, far maybe easier or more friendly versus playing on console.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't know how exactly the control scheme is going to be able to flawlessly translate over to controller.
Yeah, that's interesting. Especially it doesn't apply to Overwatch, but especially in a game like Players Unknown Battleground, where same way as H1Z1 and a lot of these battle royale games are at now, a big chunk of that game is inventory management. How are you going to make a
Right.
good interface, on a controller rather than playing with your keyboard, where it's a lot easier with the keyboard and mouse. So I'm definitely interested to see. I don't think they're going to have a hard time getting people to play the game, considering it's always top 1, top 2, top 3 games on Twitch. Granted,
Yeah.
that's at least the last few months, and granted that's on PC. But I mean, just with a following that big, all these people watching the game aren't necessarily playing the game on their PC. Maybe they'll be
Right.
playing the game on their Xbox. We'll have to
Right.
see.
So, and right now that doesn't have a release date. They said late
Okay.
2017. So hopefully we'll see that sometime holiday. If not, it'll probably be pushed back. And then the one other big exclusive they finally revealed was Cuphead. Now, Cuphead was originally revealed back in 2014. It is a indie game where it's kind of a 1930s cartoon drawn as game where if you imagine really old Disney films
Yeah.
like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, things like that,
Mhm.
and it looks very interesting. The color it's very vibrant, and just the whole art style with that 1930s look to it. It's very refreshing. Other than these high def 4K, just looks like you're playing in real life, like
I
Horizon.
mean, a game can be beautiful. It doesn't have to be realistic. It can still
Right, exactly.
The art can be just as impressive in other manners. So I totally agree with you.
Right, and so that's a game that a lot of people have been looking forward to, and that finally got a release date coming in September 29th. That's something I specifically will be wanting to pick up. But other than that, they showcased a couple of other games. BioWare's Anthem.
They're
That
pretty good. I'm excited to play that, to be honest.
right,
It
and
should be interesting. There's not a lot of info about it yet, or at least I haven't seen a lot of info, which is why I'm kind of holding out. But
it just looks like the trailer looks like it's a combo of Destiny, Titanfall,
yeah,
Halo. I mean, the dude's jetpacking. It looks like Iron Man out there.
Looks pretty badass, yeah.
So hopefully we get some more news about that later on.
Yeah.
But the final big news from Microsoft was that they're going to expand their backwards compatibility to original Xbox games.
Yeah. People
Now,
were pretty pumped about that. At least it seemed to be pretty pumped on my Twitter feed.
yeah, that's going to be, and it's not just being able to just digitally buy games, it's putting in your original Xbox disc, and
Hopefully held on to them.
it will work. So,
Yeah.
hey, you said you're a big Halo 1 fan, so hopefully you can get that nostalgia feeling back.
Take my original Halo 1 disc, the Halo Anniversary disc, the Halo Master Chief Collection disc, whichever one, doesn't matter. 3 copies of the game for the same thing, but
Lol.
they definitely haven't had a hard time making money off of that, at least for me. But yeah, I mean that wraps up for the most part the Microsoft conference. I am interested to see what the price point does for people when it comes out on sale, if it's really going to sell. Can't really argue with the stats of the console itself in terms of being the most powerful ever. That's great. The only biggest thing, again, which a lot of people are talking about, is to really utilize all the power of the console. If you don't own a 4K TV, you're going to be out there at Best Buy, Target, wherever,
Right.
And that's probably anywhere from another $400 to $1,000, depending on what quality you want to go with. So you're really not paying $500. You're, as a lot of people said before, you're going to be paying $1,000, 1.2K.
Yep, that's a very good point.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see how it goes.
Yeah.
They had a good conference, though. I was quite pleased. I think the next one on the list is going to be a recap of the Sony conference.
Yep. So Sony, I was especially interested in seeing. They were again coming off a year where, they were doing great with exclusive, especially early on this year. They started out with Neo came out, and then you had Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, and those games really set the stage for Sony to kind of take 2017 by storm.
They were by far and away killing the game.
The problem with their conference was that, yes, they showed off a wide variety of the same exclusive content that they showed last year. However, those games are not coming out this year.
Yeah.
For example, Spider-Man from Insomniac, creators of Ratchet and Clank and Sunset Overdrive. Spider-Man, it looks fantastic. It stereotypically a Peter Parker. They showed him flying through the city, fighting against Mr. Negative, especially with the new movie coming out on July 7th.
Yep.
I was thinking hopefully this game would be able to come out sometime in the holiday season to be coupled with the DVD release. Hopefully that would jack up sales. However, it's coming out in 2018. We don't know exactly, but it's looking like I think it may end up being a holiday 2018 game. Something where, everyone's going to be excited for Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I think it hit people with nostalgia a little bit because back on PS2, was it PS2? Yeah, it was definitely PS2.
Mm-hmm.
There was the older Spider-Man game that I know probably just about everybody with a PS2 had, at least the friends I had with PS2.
Oh yeah, I think it was Spider-Man 2. That was a great game. But we're hoping that comes out and it's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Sure. Yeah.
And just a disclaimer: so this game will have nothing to do with the movie that's going to be coming out, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is a completely original Spider-Man adventure created by Insomniac. They did partner with Sony and Marvel, but this is entirely an original story by them.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Now, the second big game that they revealed last year, and we saw another extended look on it this year, was one of the prodigal sons of Sony, God of War, Kratos. Once again, we see Kratos mentoring a younger boy. It's revealed that it's his son. It looks like he's kind of settled down after, killing all the gods of Olympus. But it seems that his feud may be going against these Norse gods now, it seems like. In the extended trailer, we saw, like I said, Kratos is instructing his son through hunting and things like that. And it looks like kind of Horizon Zero Dawn, where it's third person, the camera's right behind. So we don't know if the combat is going to be as fluid and quick as the first three. There was brief moments of it, but there was no HUD, so I couldn't tell what exactly the game will look like.
Yeah.
And so, but we did see that his son would be able to kind of initiate in some of these action sequences. Like there was an instance where Kratos was climbing a wall, the side of a mountain, and an enemy popped out, and the son just came out and just stabbed it in the head. So it's kind of maybe an advanced version of The Last of Us. I know you're going through that right now.
Currently playing through it finally. So
not to spoil anything, but you have two people. You have Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And they they interact with each other. So I think that's kind of the dynamic that we're going to see with Kratos and his son.
Okay.
And again, however, that game will be coming out until 2018.
Right.
I think that one of those two games will come out in the April to May window, so that's your big game to get you through the summer, and then they'll have
Spider-Man or God of War.
Right.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it might be God of War because they may have, I don't expect the second Spider-Man movie to come out next year, but maybe they'll put it on holiday to get you ready for the next Spider-Man movie.
That's fair. Yeah.
Going through, we have Days Gone. Now, Days Gone is going to be an open world infested with zombies, and they're known as freakers. And again, to go back to The Last of Us reference, their zombie-like creatures are called clickers. So I think it's somewhat as the same realm of that, except.
I mean, I'm only 2 hours in. Isn't the exact same name?
Well, the difference between the clickers and the freakers is that the freakers in the trailer, they were all in like a horde, like herds of them, and they would move almost like World War Z.
Okay.
They wouldn't move like super speed, but they weren't just Walking Dead zombies.
World War. I mean, they're definitely not Walking Dead zombies in World War Z. So.
I mean, the World War Z zombies were just out of control.
They're not even zombies, yeah.
And
if that happens, we're all just dead. That is what it is.
With that, just pack it up. Game's over.
Yeah.
That game, again, it looks interesting. It might be your stereotypical, zombie survival type game.
Sure.
And that, however, doesn't really have a release date. It's still going through that, and hopefully we get something else coming up with Gamescom or the PSX.
Sure.
Another very interesting game that Sony showed more of that, again, doesn't have a release date is Detroit Become Human. Now, they kind of took the formula of, say, a Mass Effect where your actions and choices would kind of dictate how the game would respond to you. But they just took that up to 11. So This game is going to revolve around multiple characters, and these characters, the choices you make, will absolutely dictate the story that you will go through. So meaning is that there's going to be multiple endings to this game. And the caveat too is that if one of these characters were to die in the game, it's not necessarily a game over. Mm-hmm. It's just that person's story has ended. And so you continue on in a different person then.
It's pretty dynamic. It's got to be, it'll be interesting.
Right. And so it's been in development since 2013, and it's kind of slowly making its way. I think that's a game that we may not see until the next iteration of the PlayStation. That's something that...
Meaning the assumed PS5, I would
right.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
That's kind of... It's looking like maybe a launch title for that, especially with how ambitious they're trying to be with this.
Okay.
And then going through now, they did show a game that looked very familiar that many people may recall from the early PS2 days, Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
This was a game that unfortunately I missed out on when I had a PS2,
I didn't
and
have a PS2.
I was very upset. they did have the HD remaster on the PS3, but alas, that's when I made the jump to 360, so I didn't have
Oh,
PS3.
missed out.
And so now, it looks like it doesn't look like it's a simple remaster. It looks like they're actually just overhauling everything and giving it not only a new set of paint, but there's always been complaints about the camera work of these
Sure.
games, because it's come from the same studio of Ico and the recently released Last Guardian. Um, those games have had some camera troubles, and so hopefully they'll fix that and kind of update the control schemes with that. So that's something that I'll pretty excited to actually finally sink my teeth into, because that's gotten a lot of high praise.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know too much about the game in general. I wonder if you need to play the original to be able to enjoy this, or if you can kind of pick it up and go.
Well, I think that this Shadow Classes will be, I think, just mirrored off the last one, and the with Ico and Last Guardian, it's almost like uh, it's a trilogy, but there's no story connecting, and
Okay.
so you can kind of just jump in. Shadow Classes has its own story, um,
Okay.
and so it's just you go through and you're killing these huge Titan-esque creatures.
Gotcha.
Now, moving forward, Sony will have a couple of DLCs coming out. They have Uncharted: The Lost Legacy coming out, and that is going to be somewhat of a standalone title. I never really got into the Uncharted series, however.
Yeah, I haven't too much either.
I'm going to turn this light on.
Sure. Go ahead.
Now, the Uncharted series, I mean, it's not going to be Nathan Drake anymore. It's going to be Chloe Frazer and Nadine Ross. As a non-Uncharted fan, those names mean nothing to me. So,
Yeah, other than reading the text, it really, it
right.
means nothing to me either.
And so, for Uncharted fans out there, I hope that's going to be a great game. That will come out August
Yeah.
22nd. So that's going to be coming up real fast here.
No, it's a big series. I don't know how we've missed out on that, but I'm sure there's a lot of people quite excited for that one. So.
Yeah. And then you'll also have Horizon Zero Dawn just came out, and so they will have their first DLC dropping sometime in the fall or the winter. That's going to be called The Frozen Wilds. Now, what the trailer showed, we don't know yet if it's going to be same part of the map, just with snow over it, or if it's going to be an entirely new unlocked area. And we don't know if it's going to be, sometime in the main story or after the game is completed or things like that.
Yeah, there's not too much info about it yet, at least that I've seen. But hell, if they use the same map and are just going to dump some snow on top of that, means I can go take a whole bunch of new pictures. So that's
Tell me
perfectly
about
right.
it, man.
Perfectly
That
okay
photo
with
mode, I spent hours in that.
me.
And just, I mean, another excuse to go back and hunt robot dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
all for
take
it.
it. Absolutely.
And then finally, with Sony, though, they revealed, I mean, when Destiny 1 came out for the PS4 back in, 2013, I think,
That sounds about right.
Sony players had a, I guess, quote unquote, unfair advantage as to Microsoft players. They had exclusive content that a lot of Xbox owners got pretty upset about that they never really got until it was far too late. And so they're going to do the same thing again. Sony has a partnership with Activision, who is, who owns Bungie, and so they're working with them to develop this game. And however, this time it's going to be a timed exclusivity for 1 year.
Yep.
And in that year, they're going to get a new exotic weapon, a new PvP map, a new strike mission, and a new ship. And so, hopefully this won't discourage Xbox players to purchase it, because I still anticipate it to be far superior than what vanilla Destiny was when it first came out. And I hope to be more towards the end of the reign with Taken King. When that DLC came out, that's kind of when Destiny really started to take its hold on this community.
Yeah, no, I'm one of these people that fall into that bucket of there's all these great exclusives that are going to be out on PlayStation, at least for the first year while that marketing deal's in place. But I'd really like to play a game like that on PC. I don't know. It's a total trade-off situation, at least for me. One, do I care enough about those exclusives that are going to be on the PlayStation to make me want to play it there? Or two, where people like you or our other friends going to be playing it? Are they going to be playing on PlayStation, or do I want to go play it by myself on my PC?
Right, and
it's a big conversation. I'm sure it's happening in a lot of friend groups of where the hell are we going to play this game?
And I think that's very interesting because I've read that people who have been able to try it on PC have absolutely enjoyed it tremendously.
Right.
However, I think that the frame rate, though, is going to be set at 30, and it will be jumped to the 60 frames per second.
Okay.
They're going to set it hard at 30, even though PC is able to do 60 frames per second. They're going to set it at 30, which is the same for consoles. And so that's kind of something that people also have to think about. I mean, quality, Destiny on PC is probably going to be better.
I mean, it's just the classic shooter with a keyboard and mouse.
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the 30 FPS situation.
Yeah.
I wonder if that must have been some sort of development, decision that they made to save time or save cost or save whatever.
Right.
And make it more compatible, I guess, across all of the systems. I'm not sure. It's interesting.
Because that makes a good point because pretty sure Activision told Bungie that you have to get this out before the end of 2017.
So they had a shipping date they had to meet.
Right. And
maybe that was something that got cut out.
Yeah, and if they didn't meet that deadline, then shares of Bungie would be transferred to Activision. So it was kind of get this done or sucks to suck.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, though, the recap with Sony's conference, I mean, they kind of took the safe route. They didn't really surprise us with anything else.
Sure.
Certain games that are coming out, who knows when, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Kingdom Hearts 3, Death Stranding, those are games that who knows when we'll see those. And they kind of just re-showed the same things that are coming up from last year. They showed those again. But my biggest thing was what's their big exclusive title this fall? And I mean, it's pointing towards, Destiny 2. So, I mean, not exclusive, so it's relying on third-party support for the holiday season. But I guess the only exclusive titles they'll be having is going to be the DLC packages of Uncharted and Horizon. So hopefully their 60-odd million PS4 users are able to pick up the slack and purchase some of these games they're betting on.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, I don't want to say lackluster conference, but they've kind of controlled the market. I don't think they came out quite as strong as they had in prior years, but I mean, at some point it begs the question, you can't just be pounding out these, or at least have deals with these incredible games every single year. I mean, these development studios can only handle so much, so...
I mean, hopefully they can, around the time, I mean, they didn't announce anything yet, but maybe around the time when the Xbox One X comes out, they decide to, hey, we're going to drop the price on all of our systems. And
see that happening, yeah.
We're going to bundle up, Horizon with, the PS4 Pro because that game's going to be amazing in that. And so maybe they'll do something like that to combat, Microsoft doing that because like you said, they kind of have this stranglehold, and you don't want to let up, not even for a second.
I wouldn't say that they lost any, I guess market share is our word. I wouldn't say they lost any market share interest from the majority of gamers right now. It's just if they fall into this kind of cycle of having a couple E3s like this in a row, or a couple years like this in general in a row with not these new titles, new whatevers, if Microsoft keeps it up the way they did it this year, they're going to kind of keep taking back some of the market share they used to have with the 360 and the original Xbox.
Right, exactly.
So, all right. Anyways, I think the last group here, we've covered two of the big ones. We're going to talk about Nintendo. Some interesting Nintendo news the last couple of weeks with a pretty recent announcement that we'll talk about at the end. And let's jump on into it.
Yeah, so Nintendo was interesting because, they had a very unprecedented start to this year. They came out with the Nintendo Switch back in early March, and they had the Nintendo Switch come out along with Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild just carried that Switch.
I
Granted,
mean, let's be honest. More often than not, probably game of the year.
oh yeah, I mean, once it came out, granted, I don't have a Switch, so I haven't played it yet. But playing games like Horizon or Persona, I was like, okay, these are phenomenal games, game of the year candidates. But the stuff I'm hearing about Zelda, I mean, it makes me want to buy a Switch simply for the Legend of Zelda. And
Fair.
so coming off that early success, it was going to be very interesting to see what they would do to continue on that fire hot streak of the Switch, because I mean it's been selling like crazy. People can't get it in stock, and so the very big game that they revealed, or I guess expanded on, was Super Mario Odyssey. So this looks to be the next big Mario platformer. Games like from the old Mario 64. Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy. Those type games, and Super Mario Odyssey just looks fantastic. And the big thing that they showcased is Mario's new hat possession power. So it showed that he would essentially take his hat and throw it, and it would either like sit in the middle in front of him and spin around, and he would hop on it, do another super jump.
Yeah.
Or the creepy part is he would throw it at some sort of object, a living thing, and he would essentially spear it in from the top and become that object.
I saw so many Mario dinosaur pictures on Twitter. Oh my gosh.
I think probably one of the scariest yet funniest things about it is that for example, the dinosaur, it grows a Mario mustache.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
And it has blue eyes like him, and so it's it looks like though that type of power is not going to be just a gimmick for the game, because it kind of showed him taking control of things, and I think maybe using them in order to access other areas. And
I would assume it's a legitimate game mechanic.
I mean, he was throwing it at the flying bullet things, a frog, the Koopas, the Goombas. He was doing everything. I mean, there's even normal human beings in the new Donk City, like the new hub world, it looks like, and he was jumping into those people too. He was a taxi cab. So I mean, endless. It's just the options are endless.
He can be whatever he wants to be when he grows up. That's
exactly. But then. So that was Nintendo's, big thing. That's going to be coming out October 27th. So it's a lot sooner than I think a lot of people thought, because it was.
That's another. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's going to be holiday 2017, and so October is kind of, it's holiday-ish. But I think hopefully if it stays that date, that's going to be a pretty heavy hitter coming holiday season.
Yeah, it's a big 1-2 punch, especially people going looking at Switches come holiday season. Adding another massive game that everybody, and I wouldn't say everybody, a lot of people that are involved in any type of gaming are aware of. People like Link or Zelda and Mario. I mean, it's probably two of the top 5 most recognizable people right there.
I mean, how often do you get a new Zelda, a new I guess quote unquote new Mario Kart?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And a Mario platform all in the calendar year.
It's a good year to be a Nintendo fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, you just don't really get that.
Yep.
A surprising piece of news that Nintendo had, their whole conference was full of surprises, but one was they will be getting Rocket League. It's a very popular game on Steam, PlayStation,
Xbox, PlayStation,
everything. And the interesting thing is that it will be available for crossplay with Microsoft owners. Yep. However, Sony has decided to, I guess, stay out of that. I mean, for
doesn't totally surprise me.
Reasons. I mean, Sony said that they want to respect and protect their viewership and their audience, which I understand from a business standpoint. However, I mean, how many times have you played games on whatever platform and you run into people on the game and they, aren't the friendliest of people?
I mean,
so they're everywhere. So that'll be interesting. In addition, the Switch version is going to get, things that are only for Nintendo, like Mario and Luigi type racing cars. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now, other than Super Mario Odyssey, a lot of games that they showcased are scheduled to come out either next year or just in we don't know when.
To be announced type situation.
Right, exactly. So, for example, they showcased a new Kirby game,
Right.
and a new Yoshi game, and so those are two very. I mean, Yoshi obviously because he's part of Super Mario's universe there, but Kirby has been a very important character in the Nintendo stratosphere, and so it'll be very interesting to see.
For not remembering the name of the game. There's a Kirby game on GameCube. It's like a racing type game on GameCube. It's one of my brother's favorite games growing up. I can't remember the title of it now. He's going to be so mad if he ever sees this. Anyways, I don't know. I'm excited to see Kirby. I feel like you don't get enough. I mean, I don't have a Switch, but
yeah,
I feel like I don't hear enough about Kirby, whereas he's a good character.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Kirby's a hero.
I don't know, what is he?
I have no clue.
I remember the last Kirby game I played was, I think, on the Game Boy, like the original.
Yeah.
And that was about it. But I had a lot of fun with that. Now, this is something that a lot of Nintendo fans have waited a long time for. Unfortunately, I will admit that I've never played one of these games before.
Yeah.
It is Metroid 4. So a lot of people have been waiting for this franchise to, in some way, shape, or form, see the light of day again.
Right.
And granted, they only saw a simple title screen of it, but watching Nintendo's conference, people were just going nuts.
Yeah, that's enough. I know this is another one of those. My brother played, again, the GameCube back when we had our GameCube. GameCube, I guess it was Super Metroid Prime. I think that was just the name of it. Or Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. But that was one of those games I didn't necessarily play so much. But I remember just sitting there watching him play or whatever. So there's definitely an audience for sure for that game.
Right.
There's a lot of people pretty excited.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was also a game along with Castlevania that created a new genre of games that people say is Metroidvania games. The 2D side-scrolling games.
Yeah.
That's a genre that game has enveloped. Everything going on.
Yep.
So another game that was announced with not even a title screen. It was just a guy on a desk with a pencil in his hand. Was the next core Pokemon game.
Yep.
So I think a lot of us were waiting for that to happen, especially with the Switch having that duality of having it being a home console and portable. It seemed like the perfect place to have one of those Pokemon games on there.
Sure.
So granted, we don't know what it's called. They just released Pokemon Sun and Moon. They have the Ultra versions coming out this fall. So it could be the rumored Pokemon Stars game where it's, just I believe both of them combined, or just a brand new adventure. But that's something that, I mean, I played Pokemon a lot growing up. I kind of veered off around Ruby era. That's kind of when things got too weird for me. There's a lot of Pokemon. I mean, they were popping out of nowhere. I don't know where they're coming from.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, other than playing Pokemon Go for a week,
there's that.
6 months ago. It's been a while since I played Pokemon. It had to be back original. I mean, we had like Red, Blue, and Yellow. I think my brother and I between the two of us, and then Silver and Gold. We had both of those, and then after that, those are the only two games I think I fully played all the way through. So I'm pretty sticking to the OG Pokemon situation.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, like if I were to take a flight, I might bring my Game Boy with the Pokemon Yellow because I mean, I hands down that's the most best game out there. I mean, it mirrors directly off the TV show. You get Pikachu in all three of them, but other than that, Nintendo talked about their own Breath of the Wild DLC coming out. There's going to be two different DLCs for it. The first one coming out near the end of June. It's going to be called the Master Trials. Now, in this DLC, there's going to be something called the Trial of the Sword. Now, if you think of Gears of War back in, I guess they still have it now, the Horde mode, where just wave after wave of enemies come at you, and you have to fight them. So Zelda's kind of taken that standpoint as well. However, it's going to be slightly different. They'll be changing the levels, and also you're going to start out with just nothing. So you won't have any weapons, no armor. And so now with Breath of the Wild, to my understanding, is that certain weapons break after using them for very often. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like you have a limited inventory. So you don't know what type of enemy is going to come next. So if it's going to be like a fire enemy later on down the road and you don't have like any ice weapons, then you're SOL. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of play, accordingly where you're going to be, safe for all enemies.
Yep. No, that should be cool. I again don't have the game, but a lot of people are excited
Yeah.
for that. So
And then the second piece of DLC, so far we just know it's called, Champions Ballad. I don't really know what that DLC package will be. It's going to be released sometime later this year in the fall or winter. But other than that, Nintendo was, riding a wave of momentum in the E3 with, the release of the Switch. So I think overall they did a pretty decent job. I mean, what can you expect? I mean, after releasing the game of the year, probably unanimously in the beginning of the year, it's kind of hard to top that.
yep.
And so I think they did a good job kind of laying down that foundation of where exactly the Switch is going to go.
Absolutely.
One negative, though, is that we still don't know when the Virtual Console is coming out. And that's something where it's, what's going on with that. I mean, not even the Virtual Console, but their whole online interface is kind of up in the wind right now. You have to contact, through an app on your phone to party with people. It's kind of very convoluted. And so hopefully they can iron out those details by the time these games start rolling out, at least the holiday, when people might jump into the Switch community like myself.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think anybody was disappointed by any means by by their show, but they're just kind of riding that wave of the massive success of the Switch so far this year, and I think they're going to have no problem riding that at least through the end of the year. So good stuff there. I think there's only one last thing to talk about. Another recent Nintendo kind of news that's more updated than the C3 talk. Nintendo announced, and I'll just talk about it, the SNES Classic. They just did the NES, I guess. I don't know, how long ago was that now? A few months, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Basically an impossible thing to get your hands on. Comes preloaded with a bunch of classic games from the era. Just everything was sold out before. People are super pumped for this. The game lineup I don't have sitting in front of me.
The game lineup is probably one of the best 20 game compilations of
that's what I've been seeing.
Come across. You're getting Super Mario World, Donkey Kong, you're getting Legends of Zelda: Link to the Past, Secret of Mana, Metroid, Super Mario Kart that people say is one of the best Mario Karts out there.
Right.
The big game that's coming out that got a lot of people by surprise is Star Fox 2.
Star Fox 2, yeah.
Yep. And that's something that never saw the light of day. That's something that never was released. So it's kind of a big thing to be with this, novelty item. One thing that I hope Nintendo has learned from the original NES Classic is to not supply stores with 5 to 10 of these, and to actually make a lot, because I really wanted the NES Classic, and you couldn't find them anywhere. It was you go on eBay and there are hundreds of dollars.
Right. Yeah, and this is coming out I think for $80 if I remember correctly.
Yep.
It's one of those situations where I know, wherever they're being produced, that means there's less Switches being produced, and/or Nintendo's paying more to some other manufacturer to make these SNES Classics. I hope you're right, and I hope they staffed up a bit stronger considering the success of the NES Classic and the buzz that's already been around this so far. So I'm hoping they pick it up, and nobody's that really wants to play it just can't get their hands on, has to go to eBay or whatever and pay $300 or $400 or $500 just to play some of these games. So we'll see
if any pre-orders happen. It's going to be coming out September 29th. Okay. So that's 3 months from today. So hopefully they get some sort of pre-order system set up within the next month or so, whereas people will be able to get that console. But we'll see if Nintendo continues down this road of these retro consoles. What next up would be the N64, I think, be the next in line.
I guess.
I mean, after any Super Nintendo. So
After Super Nintendo, it's the N64, yeah. So
we'll see if we have an N64 classic next year then.
N64 classic, then what? A GameCube classic, a Wii classic, a Wii U classic.
By the time
where does it end?
The classics will eventually reach the point where they are at their newest system, and then that's when you're at the nexus of the universe, and everything blows up.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah,
but
yeah, no, it's all good stuff though. That'll be a big hit. I have no doubt that that's going to sell tons of units.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I think, it's a lot to catch up on. I see we've been going for a hell of a lot longer than we planned to go for here. We're running almost at an hour, and we were targeting 30 minutes. E3 is a lot to recap. Obviously, it's the biggest time of the year for a gamer in terms of news and, all the buzz around new games coming out. Normally we're going to try to keep these podcasts to around 30 minutes.
Play by ear.
Yeah, play it by ear. Again, we're going to play it by ear on how frequently we do it. There's plenty of good weekly podcasts out there if you're into that. We'll probably do a bi-weekly is going to be our goal. At least as we get things kicked off and just kind of fine-tune the operational aspects of this. We should have no problem talking about stuff every other week and, bringing in new topics each time. Maybe some specific games that we're playing or really diving deep into a game we've both played recently or playing together. So should be some good things. You can see on the screen. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of playing games, what are you playing right now?
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm playing right now. I'm playing a hell of a lot of Overwatch right now and just can't get up to Diamond. So close. I mean, man, that game. Good game, fantastic game. Blizzard did a great job. Blizzard doesn't make bad games. I mean, so they make a good game. Just, God, man, trying to get up to that 3000 SR, you get to 2950, you're down to 2650 next time. It's like, dude.
It's a love-hate relationship. That's
part
of the definition for that game.
Yeah, so I know you've been playing a lot of that too, and you recently, I think you mentioned earlier, just finished up Persona 5 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and then I was catching up on some Netflix stuff, so I've just been sticking with Overwatch. There's some backlog games that I have lined up that I'm trying to sort through, but right now it's just Overwatch all the time.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. I got to squeeze. We were talking about The Last of Us earlier. I got to start squeezing some more Last of Us in there, but I'll figure that out once I get to Diamond, because that's the only thing on my mind right now.
Right.
As you can see on the screen, definitely have our social medias. Our Twitch is there. We don't stream as often as we'd like. Probably going to get into that more often, though. So you can see on our Twitters when we go live. Definitely check out Coffee's website, coffeescorner.com. A lot of the same recaps that we were talking about today. Writing down, what was going on, his opinions on it. Some good content there. Definitely check that out. I know he's going to keep writing on that website, not just about games, but about movies, TV shows, anything else kind of that falls under that umbrella.
Next up will be Spider-Man: Homecoming next week.
There you go. Stay tuned for that. I think that's it. So I guess we're done with episode 1. We made it. It feels good. Feels good, man. So I guess we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. This has been Gaming Nonsense. We will catch you guys later.